Thanks, Mel. I should say, just to start, and you'll see it later on, Social Enterprise West Midlands is part of the Aspire group. And I just want to put a personal thanks to the team for putting on the event today. And further to that, I've had the pleasure of managing Mel for the last 2.5 years.
Pleasure. That's
pleasure.
The first time I've heard it before.
I'm saying pleasure. So a personal thanks for the contribution that Mel's made to the sector, to Social Enterprise West Midlands, and to the Aspire Group, and being a great colleague to work with. So I want to talk about the social mobility agenda, why we're involved, why leading into Maisie's contribution as well, which Alan will feature as well. Let's start with a definition. It's a sort of deadening thing, isn't it? You see a definition, you think, oh, it sounds really, really hard. Just think about opportunity. Just think about how we're going to create the opportunities for the young people in our communities to get the places where we're sitting now, and opening those up to as wide a spectrum of people as we possibly can. And that's really what it's about, and it's definitely not about that. So think opportunity, think about how we create and open up our organisations. This was a quote of Nick Clegg. I'm not wearing a yellow rosette, but I'm going to quote Nick Clegg twice in this, only because Nick Clegg ran the commission which looked at social mobility. The fact is, workplaces across Britain desperately need to be opened up. You can imagine the wringing of hands here. Too often it's who you know, not what you know, that counts. I find that really irritating, I've got to say. And I'm sure most people in this audience would not sign up to that, would rail against that type of paternalistic, sort of inward-looking perspective. But unfortunately, some of the data just does suggest that organisations in this country are not as open, not as inclusive, and not creating the opportunities that they could do. So there's a few stats there. If you just take the top one, only 20% of young people from the poorest families achieve 5 good GCSEs compared to 75% of the richest. There is structural disadvantage built into our communities. And social mobility is about trying to unlock and resolve those issues. Only 7% of the population attended independent schools, but privately educated account for more than half the people in top most professions. This is not about knocking people who go to private schools or have the benefits of great opportunities and great education, but it is challenging. Why is there that inequality? Why are those things happening? Why do they continue to happen? So moving on, the outcome of the commission that Nick Clegg, and here we are, I'm not wearing the yellow rosette. The reason, or the outcome of the commission that the Deputy Prime Minister led was the development of a social mobility compact. And it's a compact which is fairly broadly written. It's for any organisation to embrace. It has some key principles which I'll show you in a minute, but it's about simple, fairness, opportunity, investing a little in terms of the next generation, your future workforce. So if you go back to what Hilary Blaze was saying, Hazel Blaze rather, what is good about business, creating opportunity, good principles, good business activity is good business, because actually, the construction industry is growing. You're going to have issues creating and sustaining opportunity. We've got to open up those opportunities for our young people. So the compact principles, I'd be amazed if most of you say, well, we're already doing all those things. But it's about galvanising those, bringing them together and trying to do more to raise aspiration in local schools. I'm sure lots of you are going into schools, talking to young people. I hope I'm not being controversial when I say the quality of independent advice and guidance in many schools is very variable. And unfortunately, lots of people are not being shown that vocational pathways are a really good way of progressing in their future employment. Giving fair access to work experience, internships and opportunities, paying the national minimum wage where it's appropriate. I've got two youngsters, and they've been through this whole process of trying to get into the employment market. They've had the benefit of, fortunately, a good education, but even so, trying to get good quality internships where there is an equitable relationship is really, really important, I think, going forward. But work experience generally for all our young people is a tremendous way, and we know it from PM, our training company, of getting people ready and employable and ready to take those opportunities as they come forward. And opening up our recruitment processes, being innovative and thinking about how can we reach a wider cross-section of people to open up those opportunities in our local communities so that we do get that cyclical investment back into our neighbourhoods. So you can sign up to the charter, and Alan will tell you a little bit more about that towards the end. A number of us went for a stage forward and committed to put an application in to be social mobility champions, and there are 12 of us across the country who've done that, and I'll show you who they are in a minute. It's a 12-month commitment, and what this is a bit of extra stretch around those criteria that were set around the compact. And what those things are is to do more outreach, to do more work with schools, to do more work with education providers, to look at how we provide work placements and be more inclusive and more innovative in our way of achieving that, to do more work around recruitment and actually monitor and evaluate the impact that we're having on social mobility. So tracking the progress of our recruitment processes, our own workforce, to see actually are we managing to reach other people, are we recruiting from other places, are we getting different people that are coming through our organisations. And what we're doing today, leading and championing. You know, we have a role within this 12-month period of sharing the message and trying to get more employers on board. There's about 150 who've signed the compact so far nationally. You know, there are thousands of organisations who are embracing these principles who could take the next step. And those are 12 organisations, quite a diverse group. Some city institutions, some big national players, and a number of us who are actually involved directly in this agenda today. So from the construction side, MEARS, from Aspire Group's perspective, our focus is social regeneration, but we're a housing organisation and a training business, so we're involved in construction as well, and we see the huge opportunities that construction has to break down some of those social mobility barriers. So I'm just going to go on as a sort of case study to talk a little bit about Aspire. I'm hoping I might have caught up time to maybe show the video. I think we can. It's a bit of a compromise here because Melanie's cut the time. I've got a compromise between cutting my time down or cutting down the video where my chief executive speaks. So maybe the chief exec should win. Essentially, the Aspire Group, as I say, is a social regeneration organisation. Aspire Housing, 9,000 housing organisation, is at its core, but we're very much into the social mobility agenda through what we do with training and employment. So we have a training business in the group, we have a furniture reuse charity, and of course we have very proudly Social Enterprise West Midlands. But what I'll do, rather than waxing lyrical too much about that, and save it for Sinead, we do believe in social mobility. It's very much our core. We operate as a social enterprise, so most housing organisations in this sector would call themselves social enterprises. We reinvest money back into our neighbourhoods. And because we're place-based, because we operate in Staffordshire, we have an absolute connection with those communities. And if you illustrate that from our challenges, some of our neighbourhoods are among the most deprived nationally, areas in Stoke-on-Trent and Newcastle, which I'll show you in a moment. We have a high percentage of worklessness, sadly, in social housing tenures, so we have a natural relationship with both the property but also the person. So the person side of it is very much around trying to create those social mobility opportunities. Through our training business, 55% of our learners come from the poorest 30% of neighbourhoods across the country. So disproportionately, we're working with disadvantaged young people. And sadly, despite the improvements in education, only 14% of our 16 to 18-year-olds who first come to PM training have an A to C in maths and English. So we're trying to encourage them and give them the opportunity to progress forward. And if you look at the sort of Staffordshire area, all our properties are clustered in the north of the county, and that's an indication of the levels of working benefits and working age population within the area who are not currently working. If you really zoomed into that, that is disproportionately represented in areas of social housing and areas of high deprivation. So we're absolutely committed to the transformation of those areas and those communities. So I will show the video. It's hopefully a good illustration of the way we've tried to turn ourselves inside out to become a social mobility business.
The Aspire Group, a social regeneration business. The Aspire Group started as a housing business, but that no longer describes the work that we do. Many of our communities in Staffordshire and Cheshire have suffered from the loss of major industries like mining, pottery, steel and tyres. People struggle with low incomes, high unemployment and a lack of formal skills and education. Being locally embedded, we know the potential of the people and businesses within our areas, and we can see that the key to social regeneration is in supporting and investing in them. So we've expanded and we've changed. With over 600 employees, we've become a major local employer. Each year, we create 700 apprenticeships, work with more than 1,000 businesses, and invest £20 million in our homes and neighbourhoods. What we have become is a social regeneration business. Through Aspire Housing, we still provide quality and affordable places to live. We still build more than 100 new properties every year, and we continue to offer key services to help turn those houses into homes. We provide furnished tenancies for people moving out of homelessness or sheltered accommodation for the first time. We help to make sure our tenants are getting the benefits they're entitled to and offer advice and training for people who are out of work or struggling with debt. When people are unwell or vulnerable, we're there to help them to manage at home, offer advice on getting treatment, and even help out with the garden. This is important work, but when it comes to creating successful communities, dealing with one home at a time is not enough. We need to change the world around those homes and create opportunities for employment and growth to take hold. With this in mind, we created Enterprising Futures, a social enterprise comprising 3 companies, each designed to make our area better for people and business. To give people new skills and education, we bought PM Training, which now provides 2,000 training places a year. We also work with 1,000 different companies, creating new jobs through a programme of apprenticeships. We produce highly skilled and motivated people and bring them together with the businesses that need them. Seeing this work succeed, we welcomed Social Enterprise West Midlands into our group as a champion for the social enterprise movement. This company now provides advice and support to people managing other businesses, bringing social or environmental benefits to their communities. To build quality of life and restore personal pride, we have Furniture Mine, an organisation that now collects furniture from 5,000 households, over 90% of which is passed on to people that need it, avoiding over 400 tonnes of landfill every year. The profit we make through Enterprising Futures is used to fund the Realise Foundation, a social regeneration charity which invests £250,000 each year in supporting people into work. We fund computer clubs and college bursaries, give grants to business to encourage them to take apprentices, and helps students to meet the costs of their education and provides toolkits and driving lessons to apprentices. We also fund environmental improvements like parks, playgrounds and public art. Being a social regeneration business means creating the conditions where people and businesses make successful communities for themselves. Investing in local people and local business to create opportunities and wealth that can then be reinvested in the area is a virtuous circle of improvement. We are passionate about it because it works. We want everyone to recognise the impact they can make, to be bold, brave and imaginative, so they can harness their own power to make a difference in their communities too.
Thanks for that. So essentially our response to this, you've seen really with the video, which crosses over into the wider social value agenda. Since we acquired PM, we now have 10% of our colleagues are young apprentices. We're the largest provider of apprenticeships in Staffordshire. We put great stall on. We have a lot more young people that we work with than we could actually need within the business, but what we work on is positive progression to make sure that those young people actually progress onwards. So we get over 90% positive progression for young people who start an apprenticeship. We provide employment and skills support for tenants because of those very issues of the structural disadvantage in communities. And because of the economic situation in North Staffordshire particularly, we're working with local enterprise, we're investing in local business, and we actually want local business to thrive. And through our regeneration charity Realise, we're helping to sustain that and working with the younger community going forward. So thanks for that, and I'll pass on to Alan.